Okay, so what if I told you that one single book, not a whole series, just one textbook, taught math to an entire empire for almost a century? It sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, today we're diving into exactly that. Kiselev's Algebra, a book that is, no exaggeration, a legend. I mean, get this. For 70 years straight, from the late 1880s all the way to the mid 1950s, this was it. This was the book. We're talking tens of millions of students, first in the Russian Empire and then in the Soviet Union, all learning algebra from the same exact source. You don't see that happen. That kind of dominance is almost unheard of. The translator of a recent English edition put it perfectly. He called its place in history singular. And that really gets you thinking, right? What was the secret sauce here? What made this one book so powerful, so effective, that it managed to outlast empires and teach entire generations? All right, let's jump in. To really get why this book is such a legend, we've got to see how Kiselev built algebra right from the ground up, starting with the most basic, fundamental ideas. And you really have to put yourself in that mindset. Before you learn algebra, all you know is arithmetic, just numbers, doing things with other numbers. But algebra, that's a whole different ballgame. It's this big leap into abstract thinking. So where do you even start? How do you possibly begin to teach something like that? And this is where we see Kiselev's genius right away. His big insight was this: don't treat algebra like just a bunch of math problems. Treat it like you're learning an entirely new language, a language designed specifically to describe how the world works. So what's the first thing you need to learn any new language? The alphabet, right? Kiselev starts right there. He introduces this, radical idea that a letter, like A or X, can stand in for any number. And that one move, that's the whole key. It's what lets you stop talking about specific problems and start talking about universal rules. Okay, so once you've got your alphabet, you can start making words and sentences. And that's exactly what Kiselev does with the idea of a formula. He defines it so simply. It's not some big, scary mathematical concept. Nope, it's just a sentence, a statement you make using the new language of algebra. Look at that. No confusing jargon, just pure, simple clarity. But, any language needs rules to work. It needs grammar so that everyone's on the same page. And that's exactly what the order of operations is. It's not just some random list of rules your teacher makes you memorize. In Kiselev's world, it's the grammar of algebra. It makes sure that every single algebraic sentence means the exact same thing to everyone who reads it. Powers first, then multiply and divide, and you finish up with adding and subtracting. So, with the grammar locked down, Kiselev moves on to expand the vocabulary. And he tackles a concept that, let's be honest, trips up a lot of people when they first learn it: negative numbers. But here's the thing. He doesn't just, slap a minus sign on a number and call it a day. He makes it completely intuitive. He introduces them as things that have two opposite senses. Think about it. Profit, what's the opposite? Loss. Income, the opposite is expenditure. Assets versus debt. This isn't some abstract math thing anymore. It's just life. It's a description of how the real world actually works. And to really hammer this point home, he uses this beautiful, simple little puzzle. Okay, so there's a train sitting at a station. You know how fast it's going to go. The question is, where will it be in 3 hours? And the answer is, you have no idea. You can't possibly know yet. Why? Because you're missing one crucial piece of information. Which direction is it going? The numbers we use in basic arithmetic just can't answer that question. And this is the solution. He introduces what he calls relative numbers. These are numbers that do two jobs at once. They don't just tell you the how much, the magnitude. They also tell you the which way, the direction. Positive for one way, negative for the other. And just like that, with that one simple idea, the entire world of math basically doubles in power. Okay, so let's recap. We've got a new language and a whole new set of numbers. Now, this is the point where things could get really messy really fast. But this is where Kiselev's true genius shines. He makes this new, expanded world incredibly simple to get around in. All right, here's a classic. This is where so many of us get stuck. How in the world do you add a positive number and a negative number together? It just feels counterintuitive, right? But Kiselev's rule for this is just a masterclass in clarity. Just look at this rule straight out of the book. All you do is find the difference between the two numbers, ignoring the signs for a second, and then you just give the answer the sign of whichever number was bigger to begin with. That's it. It's a simple step-by-step recipe that works every single time. No guesswork, no confusion. Okay, so addition makes sense, but what about subtraction? Especially subtracting a negative number. That's where the real headaches usually start. But you have to see this. This is where Kiselev pulls off what is basically a magic trick. And here it is. This is so brilliant. Kiselev shows that subtraction isn't even really a new operation. To subtract any number, all you have to do is add its opposite. So subtracting a -5 is the exact same thing as adding a +5. And poof, a whole category of confusing problems just disappears. It all just becomes addition. It's an absolutely genius simplification.
And to really drive home this idea that algebra is something humans invented, that it's a language we built, the book has these amazing little historical notes. It shows that even the symbols we take completely for granted, like the plus sign, the minus sign, the equal sign, these had to be invented by people over centuries. They weren't just handed down from on high.
Okay, so we've learned the alphabet, we've expanded our vocabulary of numbers, we've nailed down the grammar. So what? What's the big payoff for doing all this work? Well, this is the payoff, the equation. It's the ability to take this new language and use it to build models of the real world, to solve for things we don't know. All that fundamental work wasn't just busy work. It was forging the key to unlock one of the most powerful tools the human mind has ever come up with. This quote from the translator just sums it up perfectly. There's no fat in this book, no wasted words. Every single sentence, every example, every rule has a purpose. And that purpose is to build your understanding one logical piece at a time. It's that incredible efficiency that makes it a true masterpiece. And really, that leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? Kiselev's work makes you wonder, what if the real secret to mastering any complex subject isn't just about the what, the information itself, but about the how? About the clarity, the logic, and the elegance of the way it's taught. And that, well, that's a lesson that goes way, way beyond just math.